continue now at the top of Daf Tesvav Amud Aleph Meseches Yoma. This is Yoma Daf 15a. And the previous Amud, the Rabbanan said that during the Hatavas Haneros in the morning, that's when they would do the Ketoros. They would clean out 5 of the Neros, then they'd bring the Ketoros, and then they do the remaining 2. And the Gemara asked, how do they understand the pasuk? The pasuk means, according to the Rabbanan, Be'idon Hatava Tehei Miktar Ketoros. It means during the Hatava. At the time of the Hatava, that's when you should bring the Ketoros. And the Gemara continues, Dilote Mahach, if you don't say that, Bein Harbayim Dichsev. Look at the evening. When it talks about the Ketoros in the evening, it says, Uvahalos Aharon es Haneros Bein Harbayim Yaktirena. It says, when Aaron lights the candles, Bein Harbayim, then you're going to do the Ketoros. So what are you going to say over there? You're going to say like Abba Shol, Hachanami Divaresha Madlik Neros Vahadir Maktir Ketoros Shel Bein Harbayim. Do you think that pasuk means that first you're going to light the candles and then you'll bring the Ketoros? Because again, Abba Shol understands the pasuk to be telling you the exact order. And if you say indeed that is what the pasuk means, it means again that you do the Neros first, you light the candles first, and then bring the Ketoros. But we learned in a Braisa, Me'erev ad boker, it says that the candles, they burn from evening until morning. Pasuk means to say there has to be enough in there that it should be able to burn. You have enough fuel that it should be able to burn the entire night. Davar acher, another explanation of this pasuk, Me'erev ad boker, what does it mean from evening until morning? Ein loch avoda sheksheira me'erev ad boker elazu bilvad. This is the only avoda that you can do from that time period, from the evening until the morning. And Rashi over here explains first, Tein lo lemenorah midas shemen, give it enough oil, kidei sheteido lekas kol halayla, so that it should be able to be lit the entire night. V'shioro chacham chatzi lug l'chol ner v'ner. The chachamim say it's a half a lug for every candle. V'yeshbo kidei lahadlik kol halayla shel tkufas teves v'im yoser b'ktsara yoser. That's enough, even in the winter time, that it will be able to be lit the entire night. The other way of understanding the pasuk is ein lach avoda sheksheira kilomar. Ein lach avodas yom ksheira achar hadlakasan. The idea over here is there's no avoda that's supposed to be done in the daytime that can be done after you light the candles. The dorish hachi also me'erev v'yad boker. Below acher me'erev ad boker. This is the thing that should be from evening until morning. So clearly this is the last avoda. The lighting of the candles should be done after the Ketoros. So you can't possibly say that the pasuk means to say to light the candles first and then bring the Ketoros. That's clear from this brisa. So therefore the Gemara says, Ela mai kamer achmana. So what does the pasuk mean again when it saes uvahalos aharon es haneros bein harbayim yaktirena? It means be'idon hadlaka. It means at the time of the hadlaka, tei miktar Ketoros. It's at that time that you should bring the Ketoros. And hachanami, the same thing is what it means over here. Be'idon hatava, at the time of the hatava, tei miktar Ketoros. That's when you should do the burning of the Ketoros. So that's how the Rabbanan understand the pasuk. The Abba Shol Amar Lach. Now Abba Shol responds to you, Shani Hasam, the proof you're bringing is different over there. Dichsiv oso, because over there it says the word oso. And Rashi over here explains Dichsiv oso. It says in the pasuk oso kidefarishes, as I explained before. That's Rashi right here. The Darish Hachi oso me'erev yad boker, only the candles from evening until morning. V'lo acher me'erev yad boker. So that's what Rashi said before. So it says oso. V'al karchach bidon hadlaka teim miktar Ketoros. So in terms of the evening, it has to mean that at the time of the hadlaka you do the Ketoros, because the word oso tells us that the Ketoros cannot be done after the lighting of the candles. Kamar, that's for sure what the pasuk is saying. Aval shachris beseder mashmo shel mikra seder havoda beitiva v'hadar yaktirena. But when it comes to speaking about shachris, what you do there, it is telling us the order of the avoda, and that's why Abba Shol understands first you do the hatavas haneros and then you do the Ketoros. And the Gemara now returns to the question on the previous Amma. There was a contradiction in the Mishnayos and Yuma. In our Mishnah and Yuma, it said again that the Ketoros is first, and then comes the hatavas haneros. And then in the Mishnah, in the second parak, it says the reverse. It says not that the Ketoros is first, but the Neros are first. Now, the Gemara's first answer to this question was that it depends if you're talking about the Chamesh Neros or the Shtei Neros. In other words, the real order was, first you did the Chamesh Neros, you interrupted with the Ketoros, then you did the Shtei Neros. And now the Gemara offers a different answer. Rav Papa says, Lo Kash, it's not difficult. Ha Rabbanan, ha Abba Shol. One Mishnah follows the opinion of the Rabbanan, and one follows the opinion of Abba Shol. And Rashi over here says, according to this answer, we're always talking about the Shtei Neros. So according to the Rabbanan, again, first you do the Ketoros because it interrupts, then you do the Shtei Neros. So Haditanan Ketoros Bereisha Rabbanan. Our Mishnah, which talks about the fact that the Ketoros goes first, that follows the Rabbanan. You do the Ketoros, then you do the Shtei Neros. Haditanan Neros Bereisha, the one that says the Neros go first, Abba Shol, that goes like Abba Shol. Abba Shol says that you do all the Neros, and then you do the Ketoros. So that's Rav Papa's answer. So the Gemara says there's a difficulty with this answer. How could you say that our Mishnah over here follows the Rabbanan, and the Mishnah of Pious, that's the Mishnah in the second parak that was the contradiction, follows Abishol? Because Amos Seifa, take a look at parak Shalishi of Yuma, it's going to go back to the Rabbanan. What does it say over there? It says, Hey view lo es hatamid, kartzu marak achar shchita al yado, nichnas lahakter es haketores, ulaheitev es haneros. Talking about the order of the Talmud, so it says you bring the carbon Talmud, you do the various avodas that have to do with the carbon Talmud, and then you do the ketores, and then you do the hatavas haneros. So here you have the ketores first, then the neros, asan l'Rabbanan. That seems to go again, according to the Rabbanan, that the ketores comes first. So that's why the Gemara asks, Reisha v'Sefer Rabbanan u'Mitzias Abishal, according to Rav Papa, is the Reish and the Seifa, meaning the first parak and the third parak, are the Rabbanan, and the second parak is following Abishal. We'll take a look at Rashi over here. Amos Seifa to Seder Yuma, Katani beparak Shlishi. Hey, v'yu lo esatamid l'kohen gadol b'Yom Kippurim. This is the avoda the kohen gadol goes through on Yom Kippur. So again, it says they bring him the carbon Talmud. Karzu is chatchu. Karzu means that they would cut it. Chatach bo hechsher shchita barov shnayim. They do a shchita. V'lo kulam lefi shetzarach atzmo l'maher v'litol mizrak l'kavel adam. He doesn't shecht it all. He's got to go quickly to receive the blood. Shekol avodas Yom Kippurim eino ksher elbo, because he has to do the entire avoda of Yom Kippur. There can't be anyone else involved. So that's why it says again, Kartzu Morak Achar Shchita al Yado, and then it says again, it says Nichnas Lahakter Sakatoras, and then it says the Neros. Lahetev es haners ve'al karchach b'shtayim ha'achronos cover. Now, that Mishnah must be talking not about all the Neros, it has to be talking about the last two Neros. The Lekalaman Domer Ketoras Kodemis L'chomesh Neros. Nobody says the Ketoras goes before the first five Neros. There's no such opinion like that. For sure, the Chomesh Neros goes first, that's for sure. Then the question is, do you do the other two and then the Ketoras, or do you interrupt with the Ketoras? And so then again, the Gemara asks, Reisha v'Seifa, to say der Yuma Rabbanan v'chulu bitmi. It doesn't make any sense to say that the beginning and the end is one Tana of the Rabbanan, and then the middle is talking about Abishol. The Yoma Meseches zu Mishnah Achas. This entire Masechet is really one long Mishnah. Shasuka kula b'seder k'moshe ein apsukim sedurin v'holchin. What's the whole point? The whole point over here is to go through the avod of the Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur. So how do you understand Rav Papa's answer? So the Gemara says that Rav Papa will respond to you as follows. Amar loch Rav Papa says back to you in yes. Reisha v'Seifa Rabbanan. According to my approach, the Reisha and the Seifa, first parak and the third parak, follow the Rabbanan. U'Mitziasa Abishal, that Mishnah in the second parak follows the opinion of Abishal. So the Gemara says, Bishlama Abaye lomer Rav Papa. So I understand why Abaye gave the answer he did. He makes the distinction between whether we're talking about the Chomesh Neiros or the Shtei Neiros. I understand why Abaye doesn't follow Rav Papa. Reisha v'Seifa Rabbanan U'Mitziasa Abishal. Lo mukim lo. You're not going to say the Reish and the Seif are the Rabbanan and the middle Mishnah is Abishol. Lo mukim lo. He doesn't want to establish it in that fashion. El Rav Papa, my time lo Amar Abaye. But why doesn't Rav Papa say like Abaye? Rav Papa should give Abaye's answer. So the Gemara says, Amar loch Tana bereisha hatava shtei neros v'hadar hatavas chamesh neros. Because it actually comes out according to Abaye, there's a different difficulty, and that's what Rav Papa points out. According to Abaye, it comes out that the Mishnah deals with the shtei neros, which really are the last ones to be lit. And then the Mishnah is going to go back and talk about the Chamesh Neiros. That doesn't make any sense either. So that's why Rav Papa doesn't like Abaye's answer. And the Gemara explains how Abaye defends his position. Abaye will say to you, O roye be'alma hu dekamori, v'sidra ha'hadar tanile. The Mishnah, the first Mishnah, is really just giving you the outline, the general outline of what's happening. The order is taught later in the Mishnah. Rashi over here explains, first Tana Bereisha Bitmiya to Uki Abaye Masis into Parakama. Our Mishnah here in the first parak, Abaye says, is Bahatava Shtei Neiros. That's talking about the Shtei Neiros. Because again, in our Mishnah, it had the Ketoras first, so the Ketoras comes before the Shtei Neiros. With the Parak Sheni, Bahatava Shtei Neiros. Now in Parak Sheni, you start talking about the first ones that are lit, the 5 candles. So the answer, the response is, V'Abaye Omer Hide the Parakama, to Kotani Kol Shiva Sayom Huzorik V'chulu. This Mishnah here in the first parak, Lav B'Yom Kippurim Kai. It's not talking about Yom Kippur. V'lo Kapit Asir is not talking about the order. Ela Oruya Be'alma Mayri, it's just a general teaching. Umelamdeinu shetzarach kohen gadol lios asuk be'avoda kol shiva. We're talking here about the fact that all 7 days of separation before Yom Kippur, the kohen gadol should be busy with the avoda. Kedei she'ei ragil u'mezumin ba b'Yom Kippurim. This way, he's going to be careful and he's going to be accustomed to doing it and prepared for Yom Kippur. V'sidra de Yuma hadar tanila. And then the seder of the day, that's going to be taught later. L'kach shana b'perak sheni hatavas chamesh u'b'perak gimel shana hatavas shtayim. That's why now, perak sheni, we start with the chamesh, those are first, and then we go to the shtei neiros, those are last. So this Mishnah over here isn't so particular about the order. That's how Abaye understands this Mishnah. The Gemara now continues, Gufa, going back to what we quoted earlier. Bolo lekaren mizrachis tzifonis. This is the Mishnah in Meseches Talmud. It said that the Kohen comes to the northeastern corner of the Mizbeach. This is talking about when they do the carbon Talmud and they do the sprinkling of the blood. So he comes to the northeast, and no saying mizrachis tzifonis, and he puts the blood on that northeast corner of the Mizbeach. Ma'arav is a dromus. Then he comes to the southwest corner of the Mizbeach, and no saying Ma'arav is dromus. He puts the blood on that corner, the southwest corner. Betani Alon was taught on that Mishnah, Rabbi Shimon Ish HaMetzape, Mishane B'Tamid, that Rabbi Shimon Ish HaMetzape has it a little bit different when it comes to the carbon Tamid. Bolo Lekaren Mizrachis Sephonis, no saying Mizrachis Sephonis. There, Rabbi Shimon Ish HaMetzape agrees. In the northeastern corner, you place the blood on the northeastern corner. But Ma'arav is dromus when he comes to the southwestern corner, no saying Ma'arav. First you put the blood on the west, V'yachagach, no saying droma. Then you put the blood on the south. So that's a little difficult. What's the reason why we make a distinction between these two corners of the Mizbeach? Gemara asks, my time with Rabbi Shimon Ish HaMetzape. What's the reason of Rabbi Shimon Ish HaMetzape? The Gemara says, Amar Rabbi Yochanan Misham Chad Devei Rabbi Yanai. Rabbi Yochanan said, quoting one from the yeshiva of Rabbi Yanai, Amar Kra, because the pasuk says, U'seir izim echad lechatos laHashem al olas hatamid yeyasav v'nisko. So it puts the word chatos right next to the olas hatamid. So we make a hekesh between carbon chatos and olas hatamid. Olahi. Really, the carbon tamid is a carbon ola. V'yamar achmana, but the Torah says, Avid ba ma'isa chatas. You got to do something there that you would do by a carbon chatas. So haketzad, how do you fulfill this pasuk? How do you treat this carbon ola also like a carbon chatas? So no sin achas sheishtayim k'maisa ola. On one corner of the mizbeach, you put the blood on the corner, so you do one sprinkling of the blood that really hits both sides. So it hits, in this particular case, it's going to hit the northeast. It's going to hit the north side and the east side in one zerika. That's going to be the northeastern corner. That's like you would do a normal carbanola. But then when you go to the other side, shtayim shein shtayim, then you place the blood individually on each side. Kemaisa chatas. That's how the chatas is done. And so that's why you're able to treat the carbon tamid somewhat like a carbanola, somewhat like a carbon tamid. Rashi over here says, L'chatas la'Hashem al olas hatamid, ma'isa chatas al olas hatamid. V'hachatos tu'una pisuk matanos. When it comes to the carbon chatas, it requires pisuk matanos, separate matanos of blood. Sharei domanitan al arba karnos. You put the blood on each four sides. Av olas hatamid yeshba pisuk matanos. So too, when it comes to the carbon ola, the carbon tamid, you do the same thing. Lo shabitlu mimenu ma'isa ola. But you're not mevatel the way you treat a normal ola, sharei ola, because in fact it is an ola. Elishneya no hagin ba. You got to do both when it comes to the carbon tamid. So this we learn from a pasuk. That's the explanation of Rabbi Shimon Ish HaMetzape. So the Gemara asks, how about the following? V'litein shtayim shein arba k'maisa ola, v'arba shein arba k'maisa chatos. Why don't you do fully like an ola and fully like a chatos? In other words, do two corners which hit all four sides, like as if it was an ola, and then do it again, do on all four sides independently, like a chatos. So on that the Gemara says, Lo matzinu damim shemechaprin v'chozru mechaprin. You don't find they take blood and you do a kapara and then you do another kapara. Rashi says, Lo matzinu damim shemechaprin kapara acha shelahen. You do a full kapara, basically means on the entire mizbeach. V'chozru mechaprin kapara ches. Then you're going to do another kapara. You don't do that. So the Gemara says, well, that's not much of an argument. V'chi matzinu damim shechetzion chatas v'chetzion ola. Do you find anything like what we're doing now, where you do half of it like a chatas and half of it like an ola? Clearly, the carbon tamid is being treated differently. So how do you know to treat it this way, not differently in another fashion? And the Gemara continues, El al karcha chikishan akasav. Obviously, if you're going to do half like a chatas and half like an ola, it's because we're forced to do that, because the Torah compares the carbon tamid to chatas. So hachanami. So here also with this suggestion, if you're going to do four like an ola and four like a chatas, bal karchan, against our will, hikishan akasav. So the pasuk compared it. Why would it be such a problem? Why does Rabbi Shimon Ish HaMetzape again bedavka say that you do two like a chatas and two like an ola? And the Gemara says hasam over there, meaning with Rabbi Shimon Ish HaMetzape's position, pisuk matanas bialmi. You're simply separating the matanas. Not such a big deal. Rashi says pisuk matanas bialmu hoelu shtein bekeren achas enkan hochachas ma'asachatas. You're doing two of them on one corner, so you do two like an ola on one corner, two like a chatas on the other corner, but you're just separating the two that you do like a chatas. That's not such a big deal. It's pisuk matanas bialma. It's just a separation of the matanas into two separate matanas onto two sides, and that's why Rabbi Shimon Ish HaMetzape favors that particular way of doing it. So the Gemara says, "V'neisav achas sheishtayim lemata k'maisa ola." So why don't you do as follows? Do one matana on the corner on two sides and do it also lamata, meaning do it under the chut hasikra. There was a red line on the mizbeach, and when they did the ola, when they did the matan damim of an ola, they would do it below that chut hasikra. So do that do that on one side like a carbon ola, and then shtayim shein shtayim lemala k'maisa chatas. Then when you do the chatas ones, so you're doing it on each side independently, you should also do it above the chut hasikra like you do a carbon chatas. So to that the Gemara says again, lo matzina, we don't find such a thing. Domim shechetzion lemala v'chetzion lamata. You don't find one carbon where you put part of the blood above the chut hasikra and part of the blood below the chut hasikra. Gemara says, is that really true? V'lo v'atanan. Is that really true that we don't find such a thing where you do some blood up and some down? But we find in the Mishnah, hiza mimenu achas lemala v'sheva lamata. This is talking about when you're sprinkling the blood. This is the dam hapar, all part of the avod of the Kohen Gadol Yom Kippur. So he would sprinkle towards the aron, towards the kaporas, which was on the aron, and it says he would do 1 above and 7 below. So that seems to be exactly the same. So the Gemara answers kimatzlif. When it says it is lamal lamata, it's kimatzlif. We'll take a look at Rashi over here. Umeshani kimatzlif, hai lamata ulamal detani lo I'm soyis kai. It's not saying you take the middle of the area of the kaporas and sprinkle some above the middle line and some below the middle line. All it means is the first one you do a little higher. If you do one below the other, in other words, there's no line where some are above the line and some are below the line. That's not what's going on over here. In this case, you're starting at one level and then you just keep going a little bit lower. That has nothing to do with the suggestion of doing some above the chut hasikra and some below the chut hasikra. And the Gemara continues, my kematzlif. What is this word kematzlif? Machir Rav Yehuda kimenagdina. It's like a menagdina. Rashi says it means kimenagdina kishliach bezdin hamaka b'ritzu azu lamata mizu. When a shliach bezdin is giving makas, so he does one. He strikes below. He doesn't want to strike the same area of skin over and over, so he strikes once, and then he'll do the next one a little bit below. Sheino maka b'makamechi. He doesn't hit all in the same place. The lashon matzlif lo nodali. Rashi says this language, this word matzlif, doesn't know where it's derived from. But in any case, that's what it is, menagdina. So that's what he does. It's not a proof to our suggestion over here. But the Gemara continues, velo. But is there no place where you do a little above and a little below? But we learned in another Mishnah. This is another Mishnah in the Masechet, continuing in the avod of the Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur. Hiza mimenu al taharo shel mizbeach sheva pa'am. It says that they would sprinkle from the blood. This is talking about on the inner mizbeach, on the taharo of the mizbeach, 7 times. My lava palge the mizbeach. Doesn't it mean this was the midpoint? This word tiharo means the midpoint of the mizbeach. Rashi says, apalge neged emtza gova kiro, meaning the midpoint of the height of the wall. And the Gemara says, Keda amri inchi, this is how people speak. Tahir tira, people say when it's clear noon, hu palga diyuma, it's the middle of the day. You see that this word, taharo shel mizbeach, seems to indicate the middle, so it's the middle height of the mizbeach. So the Gemara says, Amar Rabba Bar Shila says, Lo, no, that's not what the meaning of the Mishnah is when it says Taharo Shel Mizbeach. We'll continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Tesvav Amud Beis.